90s.
Oh.
Mid-90s.
Was that?
Just wanted to know.
It was all,
Breaking the law, right?
all
Fake.
yeah.
But they got arrested.
Yeah, ruined their lives.
Hello, who just joined?
Good morning.
Hi, Joe.
Can you turn that up, please? Thank you.
I don't know if they'd like to.
It sounds okay. Yep, they're on.
And the original guidance was, meetings with more than.
Joe, do you know if Ryan is going to be attending in person or with you?
He's doing phone as far as I know.
Okay.
He may pop over for the executive session.
Revisions
Okay.
to our directive next week. Relax the current speakers.
Yeah, we did that right away. It's easier in small organizations.
Okay.
Okay.
Sam's gonna. Okay.
And then we'll move that up to old business.
Old business next.
Commissioners, did you guys get the GO for now?
I have a few copies in the back if you need them, and that's it right there.
Yeah.
Well, it might not be in your packet.
No,
It was sent as an addendum.
yeah, I saw it on my table. I didn't staple it.
Different perspective, huh?
Wait a second.
Yeah. That's John Stallman for. Did you grab one?
I brought some extra ones.
Oh, you did.
Who got on?
Good morning, Brian here.
Hey, Brian.
Thank you.
I got it.
Yeah, I did. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. At this time, I'd like to convene the prison board meeting and seek approval of the previous minutes.
I'll move to approve.
Commissioner Marabito first,
I'll second.
Scott second. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on to public comment on agenda items only. Hearing none, we'll seek a motion to approve the bills. Could I have a motion?
I'll move.
Judge Butts?
Ryan will second.
And Ryan a second. Okay. Any comments?
Warden, how's the water usage been? I'm looking for it may not have been on this month, but
I can check and see if it was on last month's bills. The water usage has been down, but consistent with what we've had since we put in our water saving measures.
great, okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, next is approval of personnel actions. Warden?
Thank you, Commissioner. We'd be seeking the approval of two personnel actions. The first is Caitlin Lunger. She is a female work crew foreman. And Timothy Leibensberger, who is a resident supervisor. Both of those positions are out at the pre-release center.
Okay, could I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
What? Okay. Could I have a second?
Ryan will
Rick?
second.
Oh, Ryan second. Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Warden, informational highlights.
Warden, before you begin, maybe we should, for purposes of the secretary, identify which prison board members are present.
Okay, very good.
We have Commissioner Musar, Commissioner Metzger, President Judge Butts, Commissioner Mirabito, DA Gardner, and Controller Rogers.
Thank you, Solicitor. Okay.
Population report, hello, who just joined?
The sheriff.
Okay.
Now the sheriff.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, how are you, Warden?
Good, we're now on the population report. So the average daily population for the month of April indicates that there were 211.17 males at the prison and 41.23 males at the pre-release center, for an average daily population of 252.40 with a peak of 258. Females, we had 20.57 at the prison, an average 7.53 at the pre-release center, for an average daily population of 28.10 and a peak of 32. Our average daily population was 280.50 with a peak of 285. There were 36.13 clients serving sentences on in-home detention on average, and 8.10 female. We also, at the very last day of the month, transferred inmates out to another county for overcrowding. So that number, as you see, is only 0.2 for the month. But that brings up the total average daily population, including overcrowding transfers, at 280.7. You can see we're about 15 inmates more per month than we were in March. Next report is the prison disciplinary report. The disciplinary committee, chaired by Deputy Warden Barnes, conducted 64 hearings in the month of April. 61 of those hearings resulted in a decision of guilty with disciplinary lockup time. One hearing ended up with a guilty, but time and lockup was suspended. 2 hearings were found not guilty results. There were 38 inmates that had hearings, and 12 of which had greater than 1 incident. And there were 21 informational reports generated by the staff in the month of April. And Ryan, is there anything else that you wish to add regarding that report?
No, I don't have anything to add.
The next report is the pre-release center report. Indicates that in April, the average in work crew was 41, and there were 8 females on average. That's the total numbers, because at this point, we still have not reinstated the work release program. And the average for the year to date is 27 males and 5 females. The program highlights for the pre-release center that staff completed officer safety and awareness training led by Training Sergeant Joe DeFrancisco on April 13th. And there was also a CPR training, which was a makeup training for any staff that didn't complete training in March. That was held on April 27th, also by Training Sergeant Joe DeFrancisco. Next report is the bail release program report. In April of 2021, there was an average of 58.07 clients on supervised bail, an average of 78.67 on intensive supervised bail, and an average of 8.1 serving a sentence for driving under suspension under supervised release. The program averaged 144.84 clients in the month, and the bed days saved as a result of the bail release program were 4,345. The final report is then the mental health data report. The snapshot was taken on May 11th of 2021, and on that day there were 337 inmates within the prison system that were counted. 156 of those inmates fell under roster A with no mental health history, and that was 46.29% of the population. 68 inmates fell under roster B with past mental health history but no active symptoms within the last year. That's 20.18%. There were 104 inmates that were included in roster C having current mental health history at 30.86%, and there were 9 inmates who were determined to be seriously mentally ill, and that was 2.67% of the prison population. Inmates receiving psychotropic medications at the pre-release center, there were 43 inmates counted on this day, male inmates counted on this day, and 9 were on psychotropic meds, or 20.93% of the population. Females, there were 11 that were counted, and 4 of which were on psychotropic meds, or 36.36% of the population. At the prison, there were 208 male inmates and 34 were receiving psych meds, or 16.35%. There were 20 female inmates, and 10 of which, or 50%, were receiving psychotropic meds. The totals for the pre-release center, 24% of the inmate population were receiving psych meds, 20% of the inmate population at the prison was receiving psych meds, and the total in the prison system was 21%.
Thank you, Warden.
Some additional informational highlights. On April 1st and April 15th of 2021, members of the Lycoming County Hostage Negotiations Team participated in 2 hostage situations. The one was in Cogan House Township, and the other one was in the city of Williamsport. On April 8th of 2021, prison staff attended officer safety and Narcan training. That was conducted by Training Sergeant Joe DeFrancisco. On April 15th, 20th, and 29th of 2021, correctional officers received basic firearms training. That was conducted by our Chief Firearms Instructor, Lieutenant Harry Enns. And on April 17th, Correctional Officer Dane Markley completed the Basic Training Academy at the Department of Corrections Training Academy in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania.
Very good.
Those are all the information highlights.
Thank you, Warden. Anybody have any, anything to add or any questions? Okay, we'll go on to old business. Mr. Stahl.
Morning.
State your name and what you do.
John Stahl, I'm with the Deputy Chief of the Adult Probation Office, here to report on behalf of Reentry Services. This report reflects back on the month of April. Our report here was prepared on the 5th of May. As of that date, we had 89 participants at Reentry Services. 37 of those were sentenced by the court, and 52 of those were referred to by the Adult Probation Office. To date, we've had 426 people successfully complete reentry services. Of that, 982 individual intakes we've had dating back to when we first opened services at reentry. The financial review we continue to reflect on for everyone to look at. We have listed there our overall payment to our vendor for reentry services in cost comparison and costs that have been diverted with our electronic monitoring program. You can see there, far outweighs what we've paid our vendor for services for reentry. Currently, we have 54 offenders serving sentence on some form of electronic monitoring, whether it be alcohol monitor, GPS, home guard, and the SL2, which are also alcohol monitoring devices. To date, we've serviced 1,188 people on electronic monitoring, diverting 84,079 days from our jail. Of the 89 people we have at reentry services, 27 of those have been identified as having some type of history of opiate use. And we have 2 folks also participate in drug court, 1 in DUI court, 1 in mental health court. And in the month of April, we had 9 new intakes. I just want to note, June the 4th at the Community Theater League, our vendor will be hosting a transition ceremony to recognize the folks that successfully completed reentry. We haven't had a transition ceremony here in some time with COVID, so we're looking forward to doing that. With respect to the cost comparison that we continue to reflect on our report, and I just want to take a minute and commend the courts and the commissioners for sticking with this. To be able to show that we're not only providing a useful service to the folks that we're servicing in the criminal justice system, we found multiple ways to also utilize services that are offered to us by our vendor. So, thank you. That's all I have.
John, when you look at the opiate users, there's 27 of them, so we still have an issue.
So when, upon intake, the risk needs assessment is done with each individual that comes through reentry services. It is self-reported. But yeah, of the 47, I'm sorry, of the 89 that have come through the doors currently at reentry, 27 of them have been identified as having some type of history of opiate use. I can't honestly say, Commissioner, that it's opiate use is any worse than it was, but it's never going away. So, fair to say, Judge?
Would you agree that methamphetamine seems to be the up and coming?
Absolutely. I don't know quite how that drug stayed out of our county for as long as it did. We saw it in all of our neighboring counties for actually several years ago. We saw it there. For whatever reason, it's just now making its way here, and it's absolutely a problem.
So, Judge or whoever would know the answer to this question, are there ways of identifying if your child or your loved one is taking meth? What are the symptoms? What do you look for when somebody is on meth?
Well, so hygiene, first of all, is the first thing you're going to notice. Things that they're keeping around the house, products that are used to make methamphetamine. That's one of the, I guess, somewhat appeal to methamphetamine use is it's pretty cheap to make. There's websites out there that'll give you, some of the information that you're looking for and things to be looking for. Yeah, I mean, overall hygiene would be one of the first things. A lot of nervousness, picking at the skin, things like that. Long-term use, we see, poor dental, poor teeth. You'll see that over long-term use of methamphetamines. Meth is poison. It's not that all the other narcotics aren't poison too, but the ingredients that are used to make methamphetamines, it's poison.
Are there age groups associated with this, or any age for the most part?
Yeah, I really haven't seen where there's a big appeal to younger generation, not on my end yet, but it's not to say that the youth aren't also using methamphetamine.
Commissioner, from my experience, it's one of the drugs that you'll see the most rapid decline in your appearance. In a short period of time, you won't even recognize the same individual. Weight loss, just overall appearance.
I think there's a website out there, Faces of Meth, that if you log on to that, you can see exactly what Commissioner Metzger's talking about.
The judge said Faces of Meth is a website that you can go to.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's really appalling to see how fast the appearance changes. Wow. It's scary.
And Commissioner, we'll do some work on our end and try and get some information put together for you and send it over. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Stahl? Okay, thanks, Jim.
Just to add, the graduation is at 11 o'clock at the theater on that June 4th day. I don't think John mentioned the time.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Okay. The next prison board meeting. Go ahead.
Something? There was the attachment, like the third email that I got from the prison had the attachment for prison reentry. I didn't know if you wanted to go over that also.
It's under new business, Judge.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
I'm
put it
sorry.
under new
It's okay.
business. Then we'll move it up to old business
Okay.
next month. Okay, so, the next prison board meeting is listed on the agenda. It'll be 6/11 at the prison. All right, so we'll go to new business. And Sam? Just state your name, raise your right hand, no.
Samantha Cope, Reentry Coordinator. So this report was prepared on 5/12, and as of 5/12, current active participants in the in-prison reentry program is 39, with 1 pending intake. There were a total of 19 people released from incarceration who were active in the in-prison program since the beginning of the program, which was in January. And of those 19 people, I referred them, I made 18 referrals for them, and they were given 39 resources, which included employment, medical, DNA. Total referrals made to the in-prison reentry program since January is 67. And of the total referrals made to the in-prison reentry program, 6 refused to participate in the program, and 2 were released from incarceration prior to being seen by myself. In April, there were a total of 13 referred to the in-prison program, and they all came from the pre-release center. And the report that you have in front of you has a breakdown of their sentences, as well as the breakdown of referrals by month so far. And that's what I have.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, oh, go ahead.
Judge?
I just wanted to ask, why did the 6 refuse? Thank you, Commissioner.
So from what they reported is a few of them were max out cases. They reported they were moving out of the area and they didn't feel like they needed help. And others were domestic cases, same thing, they felt like they didn't need any help at this time. But I always made it a point to let them know that I was still available if they changed their minds. And I also let their in-prison counselors be aware that at the time they refused, but that if, you know, to let me know if they would like to come back for services while they were incarcerated still.
Do you think that we should do a better job of educating the inmates as to the benefits of reentry?
I think that would be greatly beneficial, especially, for example, there was one person at PRC who was asking his in-prison counselor to refer him to me because he was hearing about other people coming to me, and he was familiar with reentry, you know, in the community. So I do feel as though, and I've been trying to figure out how to approach it better too, is how to make them realize that this is something that's going to be positive for them and helpful for them. It's not going to be a huge obligation. I feel as though they kind of get weary thinking that they're going to get sucked into something that they're going to be required to do. But really it's something that is positive. So any feedback or even from the counselors at PRC in the prison to help me kind of.
Do you have a brochure that inmates could get? For
That, I do have a brochure of the actual resources in Lycoming County that I created, but that is a great idea to create a brochure to show what the in-prison reentry program is all about.
If inmates are handed a handbook of rights and responsibilities, maybe you could ask the warden if you could get a paragraph in there about what reentry is.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. I appreciate that.
Just some thoughts?
Yeah, I appreciate that feedback. Absolutely.
You know, following up on that, and I think this is what you're talking about, from the day they enter, they should probably understand that the most important day other than the day they entered is the day they leave.
Right.
Mhm.
And that they need to be spending all the time as they can trying to prepare for that.
Absolutely, and that's one of the Things that I tell them is a lot of times when they're released, they feel overwhelmed. They don't know what the first step is. They don't know where to go necessarily. And that's one of the reasons why some people may be returning to their old ways. So a lot of just, letting them know it's for help for them, not anything that's going to be harmful to them. So I appreciate that. That is definitely something I'm going to put on my list to do and to talk to the warden about.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
One moment.
I don't know how we would do this, but it may behoove us to make the geo name Geo Day Reporting and make this one, which is what it says, Geo Reentry, because I think the public is going to get confused about what the programs are. I mean, we're so involved in it every day and everything that we know, but it might help the public to understand that these are two different things, right? One of them is working within prison, and I don't know whether they like that. Maybe they like calling it reentry. But
Well, I mean, that was really that wasn't a geo thing, that was our decision.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to get away from day reporting, because that has a different connotation.
Do you think so? Do you think it has a bad, well, but I mean,
Because for some counties, it's just you show up, you check in, you're
Yeah,
done.
exactly.
oh, yeah, right. But I mean, I think the day reporting is whatever one makes it, you know what I mean? We could opt to do that if we wanted to, but we've chosen to do something more intensive.
Right.
I don't know, I just think that as this goes on down the road, I can see the public not being able to sort of differentiate. So it's something to think about, whether, I don't know if you want to call it intensive day reporting or in something.
We certainly can be open for discussion,
Yeah.
Commissioner, and I guess just understand that geo, they'll call it whatever we want to call it. I mean, it was really our decision to call it
Yeah.
reentry services, so.
I mean, I'll give you an example. So 6 refused, right? So that's their right to refuse the reentry, right? But, so I can see the public saying, well, hell, we're funding this program and they refuse to go to it, right? Meaning the other program, right? Which is not the case. So
Right.
it's something I think we ought to think about. If we
Well, would
wanna-
the commissioners have an objection if we reached out to like an Ann Reiner or the Sun Gazette or whatever to highlight both programs and explain to the community the difference between the two?
I think you should. I think it's
Okay,
important.
we can make that happen.
Yeah.
Sam, I have a question now. Those 6 people, they were all max outs, right?
The majority of them were max outs, yes.
See, Commissioner, when you have a max out case, it's very difficult because they know you have nothing over them. They know when they get out, they can just say, I'm done with the system completely, I'm not gonna go through with it. So it's the same thing as when you have Mr. Thompson has somebody out of PRC, it's tough because you have a max out case and they know that once the door's open, they have no supervision. And they can pretty much thumb their nose at anything and walk out.
Yeah, and I'm not thinking
Yeah.
so much of the inmate, I'm thinking more of the public that has to fund and support the program.
But I'm
And-
also thinking of the inmate because I'm thinking that they probably got their first dental treatments, they probably got their first medical care, maybe they're on medication in the prison. And what they don't realize is that reentry can help them continue to feel better by continuing to do those things. Even if it's a referral to River Valley Medical and Dental, so that they can have regular dental checkups because nobody's ever been a role model for that type of behavior.
Yeah.
So that's why I was asking about the educational part of it, because I think inmates think that everything, people in the system, they think everything's about reporting to the man.
Right.
And it's not, it's
Right.
about trying to help them have a better life once they're released.
And actually, Commissioner Metzger, that's a good point though, because the people who max out should understand that this is not APO.
Right.
This is not
Right,
APO
and the
policy.
education would help them with that.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
would.
this
So-
is people,
Because
Yeah, you'll still get a percentage, you'll say, sorry, I don't want anything to do with it. But the education, you offer that to them, you're gonna get a few that change their mind.
And what you need to be aware of, because you wouldn't be, is every time I get a notice from the Department of Corrections that somebody's eligible for parole, one of the papers that I review in making my feedback is needs a driver's license, needs a birth certificate, and they have a whole checklist of things that an inmate can have assistance with so that they're prepared once they get out on the, on the street. And that applies to max outs or just people being released onto parole supervision. So that's again why I think education is a huge component of this.
Absolutely, and I do want to add, I do have a handful of maxed out cases that obviously wanted to participate because they're active with me. And some of those people are ones that still say, hey, I'm moving out of the area, and I volunteered to, hey, I'm going to research some resources of the area that you're going to, and I'll give them to you, and then it'll be up to you whether you want to follow through with them or not. Because that's something that maybe they haven't had before either.
Right.
So.
Good
You know,
idea.
in reality, it's an onboarding process for real life.
Correct, correct. That's what we do in treatment court. Absolutely.
So the good news, the other day I was meeting with a young lady who she happens to work at the Olive Garden, but I don't know whether she's still in our program, but she was a meth addict. And I said, geez, you know, were you using very long? Because I know how meth deteriorates. And she said, she pulled down her mask and she showed me her teeth. And she said, you know, fortunately, I still have, she's 32 years old. And she said, you know, fortunately, I'm not as, my body hasn't been as ruined. And she's trying to get dental help at River Valley, you know, health and dental, the FQHC. But she's working. She says, you know, and you know, she's not from here. She's from another part of the state. And she said, when I got released from state prison, I didn't want to go back to, might have been Berks County, I don't know if it was Reading. She said, because I knew I would fall into the same group of people. So, I mean, there is hope. We have to sort of just carve that out. You guys get to see that every day in treatment court and everything. We don't necessarily see them unless we run into them, but it's good news, so.
Okay, thanks, Samantha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As we walk throughout the community, we hear businesses struggling to find people to employ. And as you look at our reports and you see the successes that we're having within the GEO reentry and now with Samantha's program, I'm asking the public and the business community, and we've had a few of them call us, to utilize the resources and the people that we have here to inquire about these people for employment. Because as Commissioner Marabito stated, you know, and all of us for the most part, we've identified some people that are out there working, and these business owners are saying, hey, I've got a really good employee here. I'm really happy that they were available. So don't be afraid to call the county, and we'll put you in touch with the right people for references and whatnot. They are a good resource for you to use. Okay, we'll move on. No public comment. Okay. At this time, we're going to recess and go into an executive session.
The board members on the line, if you would stay on the line, and I will reconvene with you in the executive session. Hey, Rami, can you bring that forward?
Say what you know, right?
Hey, Joe, can I ask you a question?
So we're afraid of transition ceremony. I never noticed that. Because we're actually going back home before they are working.
Oh,
So then we're not gonna be able to get out of work to come to the ceremony.
Well, report that. This young lady loves her job.
Yeah.
She's a server at Olive Garden, and it's just good to see. Yeah, all good.
I'll be right in.
Okay.
Did she ever, how long was she using it?
No, I mean, well, she would have told me this, but, you know, but, you know, I said to her, when did you start getting? She said she was 17. She started getting into other stuff.
I'll be able to.
She's up with her, you know, she was.
I understand. I understand. Hey, we stay the course. You know what I mean?
But, because I strategize with some people whose opinion I respect, and it's going to come from the leader of the movement, because then it minimizes the amount of time that it can come down to the other, how, what do you
Oh, yeah.
do about it?
But yeah, I'm quite certain. But you know, and as tough as it is, you stay the course.
Oh, I agree. But I've got some ideas, and I want to
Great.
check in on programs that seem to have dropped off the cliff.
I guess maybe.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Hey, take care.
Yeah, pretty much. Say that, people are crazy, seriously.
Okay. Well, we're on camera, so I'm
Yes,
guessing.
yep.
Here is, yep, I got it.
No, I asked if you were gonna be here, just in case I get a chance to see your smile.
I'll show you under the mask.
Oh, that's so fine. Well, you know what I mean.
Right.
I don't even think I RSVP'd now that I think about it.
Is everybody back? Yes. At this time, I'd like to reconvene the prison board meeting and seek a motion to terminate the employment of Melissa Miller.
Sheriff Lusk will make a motion.
I'll second.
And Commissioner Marabito seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay. Thank you all. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Two things, it wasn't even.
Thank you. I don't know if you're gonna have it. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Judge, thank you.
Yep, you too. Thanks, Judge.
Yep, take care.
Thanks, Mr. Bonds.
Okay. Got HR at 10:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seems like the court's gonna be back up again for a couple of hours.
Text me if you are.
Yeah, I'll text you soon.
He doesn't wanna do it.
Well,
What I heard.
So wait, I think the HR is 2
And the
o'clock.
secretary is
I won't call in there.
married to the chief.
Yeah, it's 2
I
o'clock.
could call in at 10:30. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
need
2, yeah, it's 2 o'clock.
What's, do we have anything else going on?
Which may be more excuse.
Really.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yep, see you.
Because you know what, all the other grade me there, right?
Yes.
You out here? All right, I gotta run back to the house. I'll be back. Jody has an issue, I have to look at.
All right. Well, you all have a fantastic day.
I hope so, thank you.
Where you headed to?
I've got to go to Clinton County.
Enemy territory.
I don't know about that. There will be a battle.
You in trouble again? Hey, what'd you do? All this time, nothing.
You going out?
Good. Keys.
Yeah.
You want me to take them up? I have time. Yeah.
What are you doing here? Just doing
Your
my regular
mask.
stuff.
Just dropped your mask.
Hi, Tony.
Mr. Mahoney.
How are you, bud?
I'm doing fantastic. How about you?
I'm just at it, you know?
You know, always.
Really good.
Go all over.
Yeah, Boston, Pittsburgh, and Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
Yeah. My kids. You know,
Yeah.
so-
Travel destination.
Yeah, it's a triangular, we're good. Now that we can move, so we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, so you doing well with it? You okay? It's fun, isn't it? Yeah. And your challenge is hiring.
Well, 10, 1, 11 next week.
Yeah. See, and you know, coverage at the hospitals, I mean, they take them right out of nursing schools last year. But it's just. Yeah. Yeah. concern that she would have people hired and they would show up the first day. Try to understand that, the mindset.
Leave after a day. If it was bad there, do an interview better.
Yeah.
So we weren't all people off for that before.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
If you didn't just think what you want, you step in there, then now it's for real next year.
Would you still show the inmates that videotape? Do they still
We
do?
do.
Show that to the people. Is that was on a disc or not?
Yeah, we're desperate need of them.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
lots of changes to it.
Well, it's a matter of probably finding someone that can probably do some video work for you. That college is good at it.
Yeah.
I might have them doing some website thing for my one other organization, like Coming Neighbor Development that we built the houses with.
Okay.
Chairman of the board. And trying to have someone hired, but also to get our website going, because the guy, Ted, who was my contact, I was on the board for a little bit when I started it. He died suddenly of a heart attack. Password, sign on. So, but it's a matter of them doing some graphic things like that, and Lycoming has done it too. But yeah, you keep in mind, because you don't know what's going to start up in September. So, yeah, I was here for this other group I'm with, the COVID thing, where we're trying to get education out on vaccination. And Brad did his presentation. To the commission.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
I was in there.
Yeah, and that's good when we shout. Brad was like, sorry to store your thunder. I'm just sitting here listening to my group here, and he drags me in on it. Man. I just saw him in the hallway, so. All right, well, that's all you can do, is just keep at it, you know?
Yeah.
And are yours in college now, or what are you doing?
My boy just finished his junior year at Pitt.
I have a daughter in Pittsburgh. She went to Point Park.
Okay.
Left there to DC, went to New York City for 6 years, and then came back to Pittsburgh, and her job that she does is based in Pittsburgh, so, yeah.
We get out there, on average, maybe a couple weekends
Yeah.
a semester.
Yeah.
And big hopes last fall going to the game. And he is a student manager for the football team.
Whoa.
So he would get 2 tickets to every game. And I told him probably a year in advance when I saw that on the schedule, I said, those tickets are mine.
Yeah. I have a right.
Because they were going for
Yeah.
$200, $300, $400.
Yeah.
Those 2 are, they're mine.
Yeah.
Shortly before the game, they were letting a few people in. Weeks leading up to it, they were letting a few in.
Yeah.
They weren't letting in those tickets from the students. So we went out there, but yeah, let's just, we'll go with all.
Yeah, you never know.
And we stayed Friday and Saturday. He had just turned 21. So one that went over to the casino.
Oh, yeah.
He lost $20 within seconds.
Yep.
I said, what was that?
Yeah.
I didn't realize what I was doing. I guess I put a couple of 20 on the hand of blackjack.
He comes
From
from the country.
We played the quarter slots and
Yeah.
you can sit there all day
Yeah.
and walking down
Yeah.
$10, $20. He's been over, I guess, once or twice since then.
Yeah.
Him and a group of guys.
That's good. My nephew, it's my sister's daughter's boy, and I'm his godfather. He went to Penn State in mathematics. Got a job at the casino right across the state line there, with these people. And moved up to management. Got bored. Now going on a master's for genetic engineering. I said, you got some money to pay for it? He goes, oh yeah, I'm good, I'm covered. All right, Brian, hang in there, bud, keep at it, tell her I said hi.
I will, it's nice seeing you.
Yeah, it's, doing, my other job is with the Health Improvement Coalition. I work with the coroner on Safe Kids Task Force, which is great.
Right.
Gave me some checks for him to.
On the civil rights, right.
Yes, yes.
I said, well, I'll leave these for him and I'll come back and get them, so. Keep him busy.
So that's-
Oh, yeah, sometimes too busy, but actually the first week of every month I had nothing going on, so it's kind of nice to
Okay.
kick back and do stuff on the house and all that thing, but it's fun. But the wife's gonna, she's manager of Ryder Park, she's gonna retire in August. So I think I probably gotta cut back now.
More traffic.
Drop a couple of things and just try to,
Maybe get to small games this year.
yeah, well, we just got our tickets
Yeah,
at
I like
Bus Cutters. We're, a group of us go to that. And then Boston, of course, but
Right. Right.
Boston's AAA was Pawtucket.
I don't want you.
So they left them to Worcester.
Right.
It's just west of Boston, and it's a whole new stadium.
Okay.
And it's on the subway line. So I said, I'd rather go there, and then Fenway was nice. I've been there about 4 times. You know, you get to see that, okay.
I like the other
Right.
ones. My brother was there.
Yeah. It's just like, you know, like when you come out of the tunnel in Pittsburgh, that aha moment you
Yeah.
get, and then you don't get any more, but it was like that.
Right.
And then we went to, my daughter in South Bend, who's now in Kentucky. We went into a Cubs game, and that was the whole thing too. You just walk in. I'm here.
Okay, okay. Gotcha. Circling the wagons against you, or trying to help?
I'm not part of it.
Okay.
And then the crisis intervention guy, he left, they replaced.
Or not even individual, the narrower perspective of a few.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, because I didn't know how you would go about doing that.
Well, and you want it to be, you want it to be representative of all,
Right, or at least majority.
but at the same time, legally, I think to answer your question, no.
You can't really.
You can't really, I can't, I don't wanna say I can't interfere. I can't get involved in union business.
Right.
And,
It's because it's not my, it's not my union, it's their union.
Right, right. Well, and it can't appear that you're trying to influence.
Yes.
Either.
Right.
Yeah, no, I.
Very good.
But we do keep an open line of communication. And at times it works,
Right.
and at times it doesn't.
Well, and you don't want to see the narrow few
Okay.
corrupting,
I was talking to
if there is a majority that doesn't agree with that narrow view,
He said you may need him next
and,
month.
and causing more of an issue than it already exists,
He's got plenty
which
of-
I don't know how you prevent that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, if I can do anything to help, or if, I think as the board, I think they would do something, or even a few of us could, maybe even mark it on, or,
Yeah,
So what do you do?
yeah, I don't,
sorry, you guys look like you're headed somewhere.
well, got other meetings, but, no, I,
Yeah.
Keep it in mind,
I
call
will.
me if you need to.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
Sir, I'm here to apply for a job.
You're hired.
I want to work in the kitchen.
Hi, handsome.
You have a.
I want to work in the kitchen on Thursdays because it's hoagie day.
Are you hungry?
Yeah, I'm
Are you
good.
hungry?
Yeah, I'm good. Oh, man.
Good to see you. Oh, I'm hanging something.
See you later, Ward.
I thought you were coming to call me for dinner.
No, I already got the job. What told me?